My name was Lula Sherman, and I was 14 when a white man named Mance Waldrop decided that my body was his to take. It was the winter of 1887 in Pickens County. The air carried a damp, bone-deep cold that slipped through the cracks of our small house and settled in the chest. I was home with my little sister, tending to chores and trying to keep us warm. There was an unexpected knock on the door, sharp and unfamiliar, as if the person on the other side already believed they had the right to enter. A white man stood at the door. That was explanation enough. He asked about my parents. I told him they were gone. He said he would wait inside. His silence was heavy. He did not need small talk. He had come with a purpose, and it had nothing to do with courtesy. He shoved me down onto the floor. The floor was hard and cold against my back. I do not know where my little sister went or what she witnessed, but my mind sealed that moment away. I remember the pain between my legs. It was a tearing, burning invasion that felt like it would split me in two. I remember how heavy he felt, how impossible it was to move. The smell of him was thick with sweat, tobacco, and a sourness that turned my stomach. I remember being silent in my fear. Screaming felt like it would change nothing. I asked myself, who would come? Who would dare pull a white man off a poor Negro girl? When he finished, he lingered for a moment. He saw the blood, and without a trace of concern, he shoved a fistful of cotton inside me as though I were something to be patched and discarded. Then he adjusted himself and stepped outside into the cold, leaving me bleeding where I painfully lay. I tried to clean myself up. I tried to be still. You learn early that trouble follows you more surely than it follows them. So I said nothing. But the bleeding didn't stop. It was a slow, relentless leak of life. Then the heat started. A fever that wasn't a warm flush, but a consuming fire that made my bones ache and my skin feel too tight. The chills would hit right after, shaking me so hard my teeth clacked together. I grew quiet because I was afraid to speak. I grew weak because my body was turning on itself. My mother knew something was terribly wrong. She kept asking me what was wrong. Her hands rested cool against my forehead, and her eyes were wide with a fear she was trying desperately to hide. Finally, the words came out. I told her what that white man did to me. The infection was already a storm inside of me. Then the seizures started. My body, already wounded by his assault, began to shut down. It seized and contorted without warning. I felt myself fading, sinking under the weight of an infection my small body could not fight. The last thing I remember clearly was my mother's face and the feeling of her arms around me. I died in her arms, a 14-year-old Negro girl killed by a white man's cruelty as surely as if he would put a knife in my heart. My father placed his faith in the white folks' courts. Mance Waldrop was arrested, but the system was hollow, and we all understood that. The sheriff could have easily arranged an escape, so the Negro mob in our community decided the law would not have the final word. They removed Mance Waldrop from the custody of the patrollers who were escorting him. They placed around his neck the same rope that had become a weapon against Negro men throughout the South, and they carried out his lynching. It was a vicious and violent end, and for that they arrested my father. They put him in a cage for killing the white man who had murdered me. They charged him with a crime, while the white man who assaulted me was mourned by his family. Petitions were signed, trials were held, and eventually some governor with a quill decided to be extraordinary and let my father come home. Once again, my name was Lula Sherman. I was 14 years old and never got to grow up, and my body was a battlefield I never asked to be on.